Aloha, I'm Jess Malu, and welcome to Sacred Sexuality for Women. Today we have with us Michelle ALVA, and she is a soul connector, creator of the ALVA Method of Empowerment, is a licensed physical therapist, integrative yoga therapist, mindful belly dancer, a Psych K facilitator, energy medicine practitioner, and sound therapist for over 21 years. She is a woman on a mission to uplift our world by educating and empowering individuals how to connect to their intuitive body wisdom and authentic self, self-heal clear blockages, and energize our chakras naturally. She educates and empowers people to create major healing with minor efforts. Welcome, Michelle. That sounds fabulous.
Yes, hello everyone. I'm so grateful and honored to be a part of this amazing summit. Thank you.
We're so happy that you're here. And so I know that one of the things that I felt inspired by with you is your work as a physical therapist as well as your energetic work. So do you want to go ahead and just talk about how you got into this field and how you segued into the energy method? I know that, you started as a physical therapist. So what led you down to the sexual healing path?
Well, it was my own personal life. When I was 14 years old, my first sexual experience was not consensual. I was quiet. I froze like a little deer, when the car light turns on. And I basically dissociated from my body. I was raised Catholic. I had a lot of shame and guilt, and it manifested that shame and guilt later on after having an emotional cathartic release of that. I learned that you get pain, emotional pain, in your tissues. Yeah. And I held pain in my cervical area inside my vagina. Sex was painful for me up until I was about 28 years old, actually. And my understanding of the biomechanics, the gross anatomy, the body from a physical therapy perspective, I knew immediately where that pain was. It made me very aware of what I was feeling physically, but I didn't know that I could actually hold shame and guilt in my vagina for years. So I actually was already practicing yoga since the age of 18. And that's actually what helped me get through physical therapy school sane, because there was a lot of stress. So by the time I was 22 years old, I graduated, and I understood that yoga was about prana and energy flow. But until I had this cathartic release when I was 28 years old in my body, I had this tingling down my legs, and I had the memory of that experience when I was 14, when I was 28 years old, after having a Mula Bandha workshop that I went to this conference for 3 hours, and it was all about your pelvic floor. So that realization that I had held trauma, held hurt memories, held that first experience, because I felt shame and guilt as I was releasing that pain, that tingling down my body. It just happened one day. I was in the tub after taking this workshop, and I guess I was so relaxed and I moved so much energy that those emotions freed up. In the bathtub, actually, I had that experience. So when I was 28 years old, I realized then, it was like the first time I understood that we're energy, because I literally started crying. The memory of what happened to me when I was 14 years old, it just kind of evaporated through my body. And I felt a lot of guilt and shame. And that night, I actually remember making love with my husband at the time. And I felt like I reconnected with my vagina. It didn't hurt me. The sex wasn't painful, that sexual act. And I was even noticing, how does it feel in my vagina after I had that cathartic release a couple of hours earlier. And I felt like she was happy. My vagina was happy and soft and supple. And that made me question what happened, what was that? And it kind of kickstarted me into this quest of understanding, oh my God, we're energy and we hold emotions, traumas, memories in our body tissues. So that is what caused me, I think, to be more curious. And then also belly dancing, I started crying pretty much the first class because I was moving my hips. And I felt like it wasn't a pleasurable place to be inhabiting in my body. And I just had a lot of sadness and a lot of unprocessed hurts from the past, shame, that when I would dance, it would free me, and then I would feel stuff. And sometimes I just wanted to stop, but then I knew because of yoga, I got issues, I'm holding on to something, and it's, and I want to feel. So all that has made me very aware that we really do hold a lot of physical pain that is caused by emotions. And as a physical therapist, we don't learn that in physical therapy school. So it's kind of this uncharted territory where even with energy healing, I took therapeutic touch, and then I took this shaman training, and we work with the energy. But then the energy people are not talking about the physical body and the different muscles or organs. So I feel like there's this separation that we are an integrated human soul in a body that's vibrational and that holds emotions in their body. And yet the psychologist works with the mind, the physical therapist works with the physical body, the shaman works with the energetic, vibrational, and there needs to be this integrative therapist. I feel that we need, that's why I've created the ALVA method of empowerment, because when we integrate all those parts together, we feel empowered. And that approach causes us to release and process because we're in harmony. And healing is happening all the time. We're actually bringing into our life reasons to release. So when I meet somebody and I get triggered, that person's coming in to heal me, for us to heal, for us to release. And so now, knowing all these things, I look forward to when I get triggered, when I have a reaction, when I have pain, because I know that that is just a manifestation of something else. I mean, of course, it's not like when I stub my toe, I'm like, oh my God, what emotion is there? I don't try to read too much into it, but if I'm having this chronic pain in my body, I now understand that my body is communicating with me, and that it's an opportunity to continue to flow my emotional body, my physical body. It's not just one or the other.
Right. Yeah, I think that's important, that we connect all of the parts of ourselves. Like, this is what inspired me to create this event as well, because we're so disconnected and segmented in our lives that when we can pull it all in one place and honor our sexuality, which is such a hard place for people to go to, when you've experienced it when you were, just sharing about even belly dancing, it triggered that shame that so many women are carrying. And I'm really excited to invite women to release that. And through women like you and other women on the summit that are standing for that same gift and same empowering principle. So thank you for sharing that. It's valuable information, and women need to hear it.
Can you imagine? I was holding on for 14 years myself, and I do yoga.
Yeah.
And I work as an healer. So I feel also that a lot of us, we're walking around with pain, and we are not even aware of it. And that's where, when we go inside and we do our diaphragmatic breathing, there's this E3 breath technique that I created. It's all about feeling expansive and lengthening yourself from the inside. Because if I have pain and tension, I'm going to be contracting my body.
Yeah.
So we can actually help to facilitate a freer, lighter, more embraced you by doing this breathing exercise. Breathing is very metaphorical for life.
Yeah. So
if I'm breathing in life to the fullest, and I have absolutely no problem just spreading my arms open and out and taking a deep breath, it's really a metaphor for saying, I'm going to take in all of life. And some people have a hard time doing this. So simple. Yeah. Or even just being like this and
opening,
expanding all the way, because that causes us to feel deeper. And in those deeper parts, that's where we hold a lot of the deeper woundedness that a lot of us as children, 1 out of every 4 women are touched inappropriately. 1 out of every 4 of us.
Yeah.
So
I just had a really inspired idea. Do you want to do like a few minute breath work with us?
Yes, I would love to. So I invite everyone to, if you can, take a moment to just lay down and bring the soles of your feet together and your knees wide apart. So there's this posture in yoga, it's called Baddha Konasana. And I tell people to put a pillow long ways underneath your back. So you put it behind you like this, and you lay on your back on the pillow, so that your low back, you're leaning back on your bed, and you can open up your chest. Okay. Because in our heart, we tense up. So if I tense up my heart, I feel shame or I feel guilt. I'm going to be tense in my heart. Mm-hmm. So this breathing exercise stretches your heart, and it stretches your lungs, stretches your gut. So it elongates the fascia, the organs. So it's really hard to be angry when your heart is wide open and stretched. It's actually difficult to feel tight, tense emotions if you're like this, if you're in this posture of openness. And from that relaxed, reclined posture, you can just lean back into the support and take a deep breath in and feel, just close your eyes and feel how your body expands when you take a deep breath in. It's very simple. And for anybody that's ever had any type of sexual trauma or someone touched you inappropriately in your sexual organs area, inner thighs, you can literally just put your hands there and breathe awareness to those parts. And that simple act of breathing into awareness into those parts creates a new relationship, because some of us may be holding guilt or shame. So we want to be this observer, this witness in a loving, supportive way of our own selves and our body parts, because the body is definitely our best friend, and our body is the bank where we hold everything. And especially, for example, if you don't like your thighs or if you don't like your belly, to put your hand there and imagine that it's like a lung and you're breathing into your belly, awareness, breathing into your thighs, awareness. And that is how you connect your mind with your body. And this is the work that I do every day, is about reconnecting, guiding people back inside so that they can feel embraced within themselves. So when you talk about self-love, I want to love myself more. If I'm ashamed of my hips, or if I am ashamed that I slept with somebody 5 years ago and I feel like I'm a slut, or I judge myself about it, or he's married, you're going to create this disconnect from that judgment that you put on yourself. So when you breathe awareness back into your body, you're creating a reconnection, and then the energy can flow, the breath flows, we're more relaxed, and our immune system goes up because our body wants to feel accepted by us. Yeah. So then we're in alignment with ourselves. We've forgiven ourselves. We've let go of whatever that weight of emotion was. And the body knows how to do this. And the E3 breath that in the forgiveness meditation, when you have to inhale, 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 and then that's going to facilitate that relaxation response, which is also a release response. And the more we forgive ourselves, the more we release the shame, we're going to take that weight off of us that keeps us from feeling sexy and keeps us from feeling embraced and delicious. And if I'm resentful about myself, or I'm holding shame or guilt, I'm not going to be as horny. Right. Because I'm holding on to these stressful emotions that take away from me being the little animal that I am, right. The love animal that I am. So these are wonderful practices, and they're so simple. And that's the point, is that I think a lot of us, we're so busy that we don't make the time, the actual minutes that it takes to just hold space for our vagina or for our thighs, that really want our attention and just wish to feel accepted and loved by us.
Yeah, I think that's super important. It's a common theme throughout this summit, is really women coming back to loving themselves, loving their bodies, and owning that we're meant to feel pleasure, right? It's our birthright. I mean,
like just the pelvic floor Kegel exercise, you know how we squeeze and relax the pelvic floor? I'm sure that's going to be mentioned in Summit. I look at those as kisses, that I kiss, my vagina is kissing me. Yeah. That's how my vagina tells me, I love you. And I tell it, I love you back. So throughout my day, I squeeze and relax my pelvic floor, and that's a way of me loving myself, because that muscle is the foundation for my pelvis, for all my organs. So I want my pelvic floor to be uplifted so that I feel uplifted, which if you sit in a desk for 6 to 8 hours, your pelvic floor is going to go, it's going to be sleeping. So it's really important for us to love ourselves so much that we want to stay uplifted throughout our day by contracting our pelvic floor.
Do you have any like techniques how women do that? Some women don't know how to even access those muscles. Do you have a way to speak to that?
Yeah, I mean, I can show you actually. Let's just pretend that this is my pubic bone. So you can touch yourself just to get a picture of where I'm at. My waist is here. So I'm gonna move my hand down to my pubic bone. There's this hard bone that separates your abdomen and your vagina. So you touch that pubic bone and you're gonna go above it and press in. So you're actually right over the bladder. So make sure you do this after you pee. And then you're just gonna squeeze between the pubic bone and tailbone. And you can actually feel the contraction of your pelvic floor there. Squeeze and relax, squeeze and relax. You're tightening and relaxing, tightening and relaxing. Do you feel that?
Yeah.
And you can lay down to do this too with your legs, with your thighs open like that, and press down. So it's above your pubic bone. That's right over your bladder. So you can actually feel the contraction because the pelvic floor rises up and down, up and down. It's really cool to do that. Of course, you can put your fingers inside and squeeze inside your vagina and squeeze. And I would recommend 2 fingers because that's wider stretch. So it's actually going to be easier to squeeze.
Okay.
And that's what I would do. There's 3 different layers to your pelvic floor. Okay. So if you put your finger, just the first tip of your finger into your vagina, that's gonna and then squeeze. So this is my vagina. I only bring the tip of my finger, the first joint here. That's the outer pelvic floor layer. So that's the outer layer of the pelvic floor. And if I go to my second joint, I go deeper. That's the second layer of my pelvic floor. That one's the one that has to do with bladder control. Okay. And then if I go all the way in, the full finger, that is the pubococcygeus, the pelvic floor muscle. So there's 3 layers, the outer, the middle, and the inner. And eventually, that's what we do in physical therapy is we assess which layer is the person weak. Can they hold the muscle contraction? How long can they hold it? And then can they also contract and relax the muscle? So there's different ways of coordinating these muscles, and each one, if one of them is weak, then we work on that. And that's why you can't just do Kegel exercises. People say, oh, I do my Kegels. Well, which layer is weak? Is it an endurance issue? Do you not know how to relax it? There's different ways to contract it. And it's very empowering when women know what they're doing with their pelvic floor. And I think it's important to know those details, those refined details, because some people are working on, for example, maybe controlling their bladder, but they're only working on the external layer. Right. So it really does, I highly recommend people go to a physical therapist and get a proper assessment. And the personal trainer is not going to have that background. The massage therapist doesn't get the biomechanical background that we get. Right. And then that's where the energy healer is also wonderful to work with, because it's not just a muscle, it's also the first, the second chakra, and it's all about feeling safe and connecting to how we relate with ourselves. So this is where looking at the energetics, the emotions, and then also the physicality, it's so important for us to address all of those aspects. And I'm really grateful to be able to do that, because then we can heal so much faster.
Yeah, absolutely. I like that. So many women don't realize that. That's why I wanted you to speak to that, because they're like, oh, do your Kegel, squeeze and contract. And that's so there is like a layering, and that it's not just one thing. There's actually a little bit more complexity to that. So thank you.
Different functions for it too.
Yeah, absolutely. And then, you talked about biomechanics. Do you want to talk about that a little bit more so people understand what that actually is and how it differs from mainstream?
Sure. Yeah. For example, when we cough, the movement of your pelvic floor, if you are very weak in your pelvic floor and you cough a lot, you're going to cause a descent of your pelvic floor when you cough. Okay. So if you chronically cough and you have a weak pelvic floor, knowing that that happens, the mechanics of that is not healthy to descend your pelvic floor and press down into it. So what you would want to do is you want to squeeze your pelvic floor before you sneeze. Okay. So that's something we teach our clients, to always squeeze your vagina tight before you sneeze and before you cough. So if you cough a lot, you have a cold, make sure to squeeze first your vagina and then cough. So you might feel a cough coming on, squeeze your pelvic floor, or you might feel a sneeze coming on, squeeze your pelvic floor, so that by the time you're 60 years old, you don't have a uterine prolapse if you have a really weak pelvic floor. So that's where knowing the biomechanics, how the muscles are supposed to move, because they're supposed to go up, not down when we cough or sneeze. But if you have underdeveloped pelvic floor, then you're not going to have the tonicity to maintain the integrity of your muscles. So you need to add in squeeze before you sneeze and squeeze before you cough. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, that's good, because what I'm hearing you say is that when you squeeze that, it retrains the muscles to stay up versus
Yes.
gravity taking them down. Is that?
Yeah. The intra-abdominal pressure to push it down.
Yeah.
That's really important.
Yeah. I think a lot of women are looking for information how to keep it up. Oh, pardon?
The other thing is, for example, like the transversus abdominis, that muscle is supposed to go in towards your back, the corset muscle around the waist.
Right.
That's another muscle. When you cough, ideally we're squeezing that muscle in also.
Okay.
It helps us to cough. And that muscle works with the pelvic floor. So we want to keep our navel into our spine when we're coughing also. If you have a really weak stomach muscle, it's important to just bring that navel into your spine. So instead of doing crunches, which is what a lot of people do to strengthen their belly, what I recommend is to bring your belly out and in, out and in, out and in, and hold it, hold it, hold it. And you're not moving your spine. So you're working the transversus abdominis. That's the corset muscle around your waist. It shrinks your waist. Yeah. And that muscle wraps around your waist and it creates a corset of stability for your low back. Right. So people will have more stable low back if they can control their transversus abdominis. That muscle I just showed you, to open, expand, and then contract. And some of us can't even do that. We hold our breath when we contract it. So that's where the physical therapist will teach people how to use the muscles and coordinate breathing while they're creating core stability. And that is from that knowledge of biomechanics. Understanding the mechanics of how things work helps us to be more specific also in how we train muscles. For example, your diaphragm. Your diaphragm is a postural muscle. It's not just a respiratory muscle, and people don't realize that. So when we're doing breathing exercises, it's actually really smart to lay down and work only on the function of breathing with the diaphragm. And that's why the E3 breath, we do it laying down. And then we can sit up and then train it sitting, where it's going to be more challenging. But we do that after the fact. First, we do it in laying down, and understanding biomechanics, that causes me to create the exercise so that it's actually easier for people to learn in a laying down position rather than doing it sitting. Because a lot of us sit like this, so it's really hard to use your diaphragm when you're collapsing your chest. It's hard to recruit it when I'm like this. My diaphragm is going to be stuck. So bringing our posture up, knowing that that's how the diaphragm works best. When you're in a neutral posture, I'm going to be able to use it to the max. And the diaphragm, it has no bony attachments. It's one of the only muscles in the body. Did you know that? It has no bony attachments. Oh, wow. So it has actually three-dimensional movement. It comes up and out, and then it also moves up and down this way. Creates movement of the rib cage and expansion. And it's just really cool how these muscles, they work. And I think that gives me more also of an appreciation and respect for our creator that created us to function this way. So we need to have good posture to be able to breathe properly and efficiently. And our breathing affects how we feel and how we flow our energy and how we process our emotions. So posture is really important to keep shoulders down and back, an erect posture, and not to collapse and cave in the heart, because then the lungs can't oxygenate to the max. Our energy flow, prana flow is going to be compromised. And sometimes we don't think of it like that. So.
Yeah, some people are like, oh, I'm being
all interconnected.
Absolutely. I think that that's important. It's not, some people are shy to stand with their heart open because they've been hurt, or, you know, we've been taught to kind of like cower and play small. And I'm tall, I'm 5'9", a little over 5'9". And so I know for a while I was kind of hunching my shoulders and feeling like, ooh, scared to stand in my strength and who I am. And I think it's really important for women to like own all of themselves. And when we can do that, when we own our hearts, that's where the femininity resides, in my opinion. And then we can own our yonis or vaginas, right?
Yeah. And our diaphragm, when our diaphragm is working, our vagina is going to be more relaxed. Yeah. This is really important. And also our mouth, the more we can, singing is great for orgasm, because the mouth, the jaw, affects the tonicity in your vagina. Did you know that? So it's really, when we do the breathing, that tantra breathing, we do this breath, and we get used to making sounds and moving the energy with our sound, and that is going to make your vagina more relaxed and supple, your pelvic floor muscles, so that you can release into orgasm much easier.
That's a good
It's all interconnected.
And it's good for birthing, right? Yeah. Hmm? And it's good for birthing. I remember my midwife was like, Jess, just relax your jaw. So when I was birthing my second boy, he was big. He was 9'1". And I was like, oh my gosh. And she's like, don't tense your jaw, because when we're in pain, we want to tense, right? And she's like, keep it open. So I just like let my jaw hang, and visions of my pelvic floor opening, and just everything opening, and an easy transition into the world. And we made it.
I bet you know, they say that 30% of the population can orgasm. 30% of all women on the planet. That's a statistic. Yeah. Orgasm. I mean, I don't know how they can ask every woman, but they make these estimating numbers. And I really feel it's interesting, because some clients, I teach them the E3 breath is all about release, all about letting go. And I have that breathing exercise on my website, by the way, at michellealva.com. If people want to download the breathing, the E3 breath, that's a way of assessing, where am I at? You know, is it easy for me to let go? Do I have a hard time? So if you can actually do that sound easily, then that gets you going. And it's a way of opening yourself to more of a release. And some women, they've never squirted before. They've never really, really, really let go. And I feel that definitely, if you want to be more vulnerable and intimate with yourself and your partner, and open up to the world of squirting and orgasming, which for some of us, it's just not happening. So notice, how do I, you know, is my jaw tense? Is it easy to create or do I feel self-conscious? Do I feel tight here? And that's where I also teach my clients massage, self-care. You'd be amazed at how we ourselves are our own greatest healer for ourselves. So don't wait for your husband, and don't wait for your boyfriend to activate you. The more we activate ourselves, it's going to just be 10 times more delicious when we are with our partner, and getting ourselves in that flow. It's so important. And the body loves it. We especially have a lot of receptors here on the chest and on the abdomen for oxytocin. And of course, our clitoris has 9,000 nerve endings. So touching those parts and doing a loving ritual of I love you, I'm so grateful for this amazing body, my amazing body temple, doing things like that relax us and get us into that same mind brainwave state for us to orgasm, for us to feel more pleasure, and to feel more connected with our soul, with our essence of who we really are. So it's a lot of fun, my work, my job. I love my job.
Absolutely.
And I love doing this to myself, because after my marriage ended, I was with someone for 20 years, and I didn't do any of these things. I was very much in my head, and I literally, I think all this happened so that I could inhabit myself and come back inside to my whole being of myself. And I would start to cry as I was touching my heart And just all these emotions would come up, and I would just be there for me and start to reassure myself that we're going to get through this, Michelle. So it was like a coaching to myself, becoming my own best friend, because I think I wasn't prioritizing me, and I was living not satisfied because I wasn't on the list of priorities. And massage definitely has been a really healing self-care ritual that I do very frequently and throughout my day, not with the oil, but just checking in with my heart. And like, what do I want to have for lunch, or how am I feeling? If I'm feeling a little tired, or so I use my own touching myself and my heart, my chest, as a way of relating deeper with myself, and all those things have helped. So I hope they help you, and I'd love to know, for the people listening, if any of these tips benefit you, definitely let me know. I'd love to see how it helps everyone and empowers people and heals.
Yeah, and just to like shake it off and get out of our minds and our bodies and our hearts, because we tend to, even I was watching as I'm listening, I'm like, oh, like from a mind space, but I'm like, Jess, just like feel, right? And feel what you're saying instead of just thinking about it, because a safe place is to just think, right? But to really feel is sometimes scary, but it's liberating. And on the other side is squirting and all kinds of amazing things. I mean, you went from having painful vagina issues, right, to squirting. Like, come on, like that just tells you it is possible to transcend. Because some women are like, I'm broken, I can't have an orgasm. It's like, yes, you can, right?
And I wasn't even trying. The very first time that happened to me, it was because I felt really safe with my first boyfriend since my divorce. And I love him. You know, our hearts, it was a very energetic, vibrational. I wasn't trying to do that. I honestly, back then, I didn't even know women could do that. I thought I was having a baby or something, like when your water breaks. but I knew enough to trust that I'm okay, that my body, and then later on I found out, oh my God, that's what, I think I heard like one person mention that word once. And then I learned about my G-spot. You know, I learned about my anatomy, and I would touch my G-spot and feel my G-spot where my G-spot was more swollen. And I'd just be like, oh my God, I love my vagina. You know, she's still alive. And I wasn't shaming myself. I never touched myself before I was 37 years old. I'm 43 now, and I never masturbated or touched myself before I was 37 years old, because I was programmed to think that was you're weird if you masturbate, or it's a sin, or you're dirty. So lucky for me, after my divorce, I met 2 sex therapists. Not a mistake that I attract these people, these women that were sex therapists, and they're like, honey, you know, what type of toys do you use? We were at a gathering, and I was just talking to this woman, and I'm like, toys? She's like, yeah, what kind of dildo do you like? Or I don't know what she said, but I was like, what? And she couldn't believe that I didn't have a toy. And that was kind of what started my whole curiosity, and how I judged all that. I judged sex toy stores, adult stores. I would have never gone into one before. And that was really healing for me, to go by myself one day, and I literally wanted to face my fear. And so I encourage that for people to see like what issues we have with that. And now I'm very comfortable now with my vagina, you know, and I love my body because I know my body is sacred. So this forgiveness meditation that I'm sharing for everybody is an opportunity for us to integrate forgiveness, that we've consciously chosen to forgive someone, yet sometimes the heart is still hurt. Even years later, we might run into somebody and we get all emotional. So it ensures that you're going to process the resentment, the hurts, the frustration, the anger, that a lot of times that forgiveness, really, we need to forgive ourselves for letting ourselves get hurt, or for, you know, like for me, I feel like I was like a doormat for people, and I didn't value myself or have healthy boundaries with people. And I really ultimately, the real person that I had to forgive was myself. And ultimately that is where it all begins. So I love this meditation. I listen to it a lot, and it just, sometimes it makes me cry because it's so beautiful. And it was created with this pure intention to create more forgiveness on the planet, for all of us to get inside with that pain and process that pain, and then see what the blessing was of that hurt, because I know everything's happening for us to grow. And I pray that you go into that forgiveness meditation with an open intention to really let go of that baggage, because then you can love again, and you can and feel that magic of the aliveness in our hearts, which a lot of times we're walking around and we're so contracted and scared of getting hurt. So I'm really grateful to share that with everyone to benefit from it.
Thank you so much. So make sure you guys click below, you ladies, and receive that from her. It's a beautiful offering. I listened to it as well, and it's really nice. So thank you for being here with us, Michelle. I really appreciate it.
Thank you
and
so
for
much.
sharing your wisdom and gifts. Have a beautiful day.
Thank you, everyone.